I never wanted to hurt my sister. I just wanted to protect her from that's it. But if you want to hear how she died, I don't know.
Okay. Was she laying on the ground?
Yes, and
so you told her to lay down?
Right, and she was fully conscious, and she was talking to me during it. If I tell you this now, I mean, you're recording this, I don't have to say it in court or anything, right?
I don't know that for sure.
I mean, I really don't want to talk about this that much.
18-year-old Keith Randulich made a short but harrowing call to 911 on May 22, 2009. When the dispatcher answered, Keith said simply, "Come over quick," and hung up. A few minutes later, he called back and this time said, "Get over here," before he once again put down the phone. Keith was urgently calling for help because his little sister lay dying in the basement. After calling, he stood looking out the windows of the home where he lived with his mother, stepfather, 2 brothers, and little sister, anxiously waiting for the emergency services to arrive. When he didn't see any flashing lights, he made a third call to 911, but this call was even more chilling than the previous 2. When the police arrived at 7:54 p.m., Keith was standing at the front door to greet them. He was covered in blood. It was all over his pants, socks, sweatshirt, as well as his face and hands. When police struggled to find the injured little girl, they asked Keith where she was, and he quickly told them, in the basement. Keith's 16-year-old brother had been playing video games upstairs in his room. He had no idea that a horrific incident had just occurred in the home, that is, until he saw the flashing lights from the police cars as they pulled up. He then came down and asked what was going on. Officers ordered both boys to get on the ground, and they were handcuffed and searched for weapons. Neither had any on them, but Keith told the police that it's in the room with her. The child, 4-year-old Sabrina Clement, was found lying on her back in a pool of blood on the basement floor, with wounds to her throat. The blood saturated into the carpet below her. A household steak knife was on the ground, lying between her legs and feet, covered in what appeared to be blood. She was wearing a multicolored shirt that was pulled up around her chest, with pink shorts and socks. The emergency responders checked for any signs of life, but they were far too late. The house was searched, and on the ground level, investigators also found 7 red stains on the kitchen floor, the sink, and the counter. The spots were already dry. They found a wall-mounted telephone covered in blood. As well, the blood droplets were on the carpet and stairs leading down to the basement. The 2 teen boys, Keith and his brother, were taken into custody to the Will County Sheriff's Office. Keith was quiet on the ride over, not speaking to any of the officers. At the station, Keith's brother was questioned first. Once officers determined he had no helpful knowledge about what happened, he was escorted from the station. But now, Keith was ready to talk, and no one was prepared for the chilling and disturbing story he was about to tell. Due to the unsubstantiated nature of some of the accusations seen in this interrogation, portions have been omitted and summarized. The following interrogation has been analyzed by a qualified team, including a licensed attorney and a licensed clinical psychologist.
The Will County Investigation Office, downtown Joliet here.
Yes.
You've been moved from the Mokina Police Department here. I have to ask you once again, did any police officers ever talk to you about the incident that happened today so far? Ask you any questions on what happened.
Okay, wait, yes, I forgot to mention this.
Okay.
Right when I went in the car the first time.
Okay.
Not the police officer in that car, but another police officer just said, what was in your what was going through your blank mind?
Okay.
Right off the bat, Keith is cooperative with officers. He maintains eye contact and speaks clearly with them. His choice to not cuss in front of the officers could be a sign that he is compliant and feels a level of respect towards them.
But that's as much as...
That's all that was asked, so they didn't ask any particulars or anything like that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you need a water?
No.
No bathroom breaks?
No.
You're all good?
Yes.
Okay. All right, okay? Very good.
These initial gentle words and actions are done to build some level of trust and rapport with Keith in anticipation of the coming interrogation.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll be back in 1 second, okay?
Okay.
Although some dismiss body language analysis as pseudoscience, it's used by the FBI and CIA during interrogations. When the CIA is interrogating an individual, they look for clusters of 3 or more indicators that occur in either quick succession or all at once. These indicators can be signs of discomfort or uncertainty in what the individual is stating, rather than indicators of deception. It's extremely important to note that you cannot detect deception through body language analysis alone. The way he holds his arms around his body, like he's hugging himself, is a self-soothing technique in a protective position and could be an indication that Keith is uncomfortable, either with his current situation or with what has just occurred. He seems to be unintentionally trying to make himself look small or insignificant. This could be a defense mechanism of trying to appear innocent. If he is smaller and talks softly, it is hard to imagine he could commit a horrific crime. The officers leave Keith alone in the interrogation room for over 11 minutes. The entire time, he remains almost totally motionless, staring down at the floor or at the red stains covering his pants.
Hi, Keith. I know I introduced myself back at the station, but if you didn't remember, I'm Detective Lothan,
Alright.
and I'm with the Mokina Police Department.
Yes.
And if you want to throughout the interview, call me Jason if you want, or Jay.
Jay?
That's fine,
All
okay?
right.
You like to be called Keith?
Yeah.
Okay, and this is Detective...
I'm Detective Trakey. I'm with the Sheriff's Office. That's why we came here.
Okay.
So, okay.
You go to Lincoln Way?
Yes.
Okay.
East.
East?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are you, a senior?
Yeah.
Getting ready to graduate?
Was.
You guys, when does school end?
The last day is like June 1st.
June 1st? Okay.
How you doing in school?
I was gonna graduate. I mean, I had all A's, 1C in English, but
Yeah, it's cool.
I was fine, you know.
The officers start out with small talk, trying to build a rapport and comfort level with Keith. These kinds of easy questions can get a suspect to feel more comfortable talking before the officers move on to the more important questions. Already, Keith is using past tense when describing how he was going to graduate.
Huh. You take any classes or sports or anything?
No, but
No?
I mean, yeah, I had a future, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't do this for no reason.
Keith immediately acknowledges that he's done something without any denial. This shows that he's aware there will be consequences for his actions. Keith continues speaking in a respectful, clear, and cooperative manner. None of these behaviors typically align with psychopathy, although it's important to note that some psychopaths can present this way at first.
Okay. Well, we wanna talk to you about what occurred.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna read you your constitutional rights before we do that. Okay.
Okay.
Keith takes responsibility for the incident right away. However, even though he may appear to be admitting some level of guilt, this is technically not an admission because there weren't enough specifics about the crime in his response or in the question he was asked.
So why don't we just do this, Keith? Why don't we just start? Did you have school today?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you just start with how your day went? When you got out of school, what you did? Why don't you just
Wait,
take us through your day?
After I went out of school or before?
No, when you left school. You got out of school at 2:45 or 2:30?
Right. Went home. Yeah.
The interrogators are establishing a timeline of his day. This sort of information is basic background, but it starts to help officers develop elements of the alleged crime, motive, opportunity, means, access, and so on.
I talked to my mom about moving out. She said that I could stay, but I mean, she said that I just told her that, what was it? I said that I wanted to move out and to a friend's house, but I didn't really want to do that.
It's only now that Keith starts to show signs that he's uncomfortable. Before, he was able to keep himself still, but as soon as he starts talking, he begins wringing his hands. He also looks down at his hands and hesitates, all which are signs of anxiety.
I got a firearm permit last week, and I wanted to buy a firearm, and she said I couldn't do that. So I was lying and saying I would move to a friend's house if she wouldn't let me buy it.
Keith emphasizes that he lied to his mother, and his tone indicates that this is not only something he is aware of, but something that is meaningful to him. This could be evidence that Keith is a rule follower, or maybe a bit rigid in his personal concept of right and wrong. He's an 18-year-old adult, so technically he's not lying to his mother when he threatens to move out. However, he considers this a lie, which could be an indication of a very strict adherence to what he believes